Unmasking the actors, seeing beyond the facade. Have you ever felt like you're surrounded by actors, navigating a world where genuine connection seems increasingly rare? I know I have. We live in a society where people often wear masks, presenting a carefully curated version of themselves to the world, pretending to be something they're not. It's as if everyone is constantly performing, adhering to unspoken social scripts and striving to project an image of success, happiness, or competence. But here's the wild part: once you learn to read between the lines, to decipher the subtle cues and hidden signals, you'll see right through the act. You'll begin to perceive the underlying motivations, insecurities, and desires that drive people's behavior, revealing the truth behind the carefully constructed facade. I remember sitting in a meeting, surrounded by colleagues nodding and smiling, seemingly in agreement with everything that was being said. But I knew that under those smiles were hidden agendas, unspoken reservations, and subtle power dynamics at play. It was all in the feet, the subtle shuffling, the restless tapping, the silence, the pregnant pauses filled with unspoken tension, the little pauses that punctuated the conversation, each one a carefully calculated move. And trust me, once you learn to pick up on these signs, to decipher the nonverbal language of human interaction, you'll never see people the same way again. You'll gain a deeper understanding of their motivations, their fears, and their true selves. This isn't about becoming cynical or distrustful, it's about developing a more nuanced and perceptive view of human nature. It's about recognizing that everyone is complex, with their own unique history, experiences, and vulnerabilities. By learning to read between the lines, you can navigate social interactions with greater awareness and build more authentic connections with others. So, are you ready to uncover what they're really hiding, to peel back the layers of pretense and reveal the truth that lies beneath? Let's dive in, exploring the subtle techniques and insightful observations that will allow you to see beyond the facade and understand people on a deeper level. This journey will not only enhance your ability to navigate the social landscape but also provide valuable insights into your own behavior and motivations, leading to greater self-awareness and personal growth. 1. The "Tell Me More" technique, unlocking hidden depths. One of the most powerful tools for understanding people is what I call the "Tell Me More" technique. Let me tell you, this technique is like having a superpower, a subtle ability to extract information and uncover hidden motivations, but without the flashy costume or cape. It's a simple yet profound method for fostering genuine connection and gaining deeper insights into the human psyche. The best part? No one even realizes you're using it. It's so unassuming, so seemingly innocuous, that it bypasses people's defenses and allows them to open up in unexpected ways. All you do is sit back, stay calm, and when someone's passionately telling you their side of the story, instead of jumping in with your opinion or debating them, you hit them with 3 little words: "Tell me more." These 3 words are like a key, unlocking hidden doors and revealing the inner workings of another person's mind. They signal genuine interest, create a safe space for vulnerability, and encourage deeper exploration of thoughts and feelings. I stumbled upon this years ago during an argument with a friend about whether pineapple belongs on pizza of all things. It was a trivial debate, a silly disagreement that held no real significance. But it was also an opportunity to observe the dynamics of human interaction and discover the power of active listening. I was ready to counter every point they made, to defend my position with unwavering conviction. But something clicked, a moment of clarity that shifted my perspective. Instead of debating, instead of launching into a counter-argument, I just smiled and said, "Tell me more." What happened next was wild. They started off talking about pizza, justifying their culinary preferences with logical arguments and anecdotal evidence. But before long, they were spilling out childhood memories of family dinners, the foods they loved, and even a weird story about why they hated pineapple as a kid. They recounted cherished moments spent around the dinner table, sharing stories and laughter with loved ones. They described the comforting aroma of home-cooked meals and the sense of belonging that came from sharing food with family. And then, they delved into the peculiar aversion to pineapple, tracing it back to a childhood incident involving a particularly unpleasant canned fruit cocktail. It wasn't just about pizza anymore, it was a deep dive into their inner world, a glimpse into their personal history and emotional landscape. All from 3 little words. Here's the thing, when people feel heard, when they sense that someone is genuinely interested in understanding their perspective, they lower their guard. They relax their defenses and become more willing to share their thoughts and feelings openly. And when they don't feel the need to defend themselves or argue back, they end up sharing way more than they planned. They delve into details they might otherwise have withheld, revealing their underlying motivations and hidden desires. You create a safe space, a judgment-free zone where they feel comfortable enough to drop their usual defenses. They might think they're just making conversation, engaging in a casual exchange of ideas, but in reality, they're revealing their motivations, fears, insecurities, and even their hopes, all without realizing it. They're unconsciously divulging information that provides valuable insights into their character and their behavior. I've used this trick in business meetings, with friends, even with people who were clearly being a little shady. In high-stakes negotiations, in delicate interpersonal situations, and even in encounters with individuals of questionable character, the "tell me more" technique has proven to be remarkably effective. One time, during a negotiation, instead of pushing my agenda, instead of aggressively pursuing my desired outcome, I just kept saying, "Tell me more." I allowed the other party to dominate the conversation, patiently listening to their arguments, their justifications, and their explanations. By the end of it, the other party had laid out their whole strategy, explaining why they were desperate for a deal. They practically gave me the keys to their kingdom, revealing their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, and their ultimate goals. And all I did was listen. It felt almost too easy, like I had stumbled upon a cheat code for social interaction. But here's the deeper truth, this isn't just a tactic to get more information or win an argument. It's about fostering genuine connection, building rapport, and understanding people on a deeper level. In a world where everyone is quick to talk but slow to listen, where people are more interested in expressing their own opinions than in understanding the perspectives of others, "Tell me more" becomes a way to bridge divides and foster empathy. It forces you to step outside your own ego, to stop thinking about what you'll say next, and to genuinely care about the other person's perspective. It requires a conscious effort to set aside your own biases and assumptions, to approach the conversation with an open mind and a willingness to learn. When you ask people to explain themselves without judgment, you give them a rare gift, being truly heard. You provide them with an opportunity to express themselves fully, to articulate their thoughts and feelings without fear of criticism or ridicule. And in that moment, you build trust, understanding, and sometimes even healing. You create a connection that transcends the superficial and touches upon the deeper aspects of the human experience. This technique reflects one of the core teachings of Stoicism, empathy without attachment. You're not trying to manipulate or control the conversation, you're simply observing, understanding, and remaining calm. You're not invested in a particular outcome, you're simply interested in learning and growing. It's not just about reading people, it's about seeing them for who they really are and allowing them the space to reveal their true selves. It's about recognizing their inherent worth and respecting their unique perspective, even if you don't agree with their views. So, the next time you're in a conversation, whether it's a casual chat, a negotiation, or even a heated debate, try the "tell me more" technique. You'll be amazed at how much deeper the conversation goes, how much people reveal, and how easy it becomes to really understand them without ever having to push. And beyond just winning a conversation, you'll come to see that this approach builds real human connections, grounded in respect and genuine curiosity. It fosters a sense of shared understanding and creates a space for meaningful dialogue. That's where the true power lies, seeing others and, through them, learning more about yourself. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of human experience and appreciating the diversity of perspectives that enrich our world. By embracing empathy and curiosity, we can break down barriers, build bridges, and create a more compassionate and understanding society. 2. Observing treatment of subordinates, revealing true character. If you really want to know someone's true character, to understand the depths of their integrity and the true nature of their values, don't just watch how they treat you. Instead, watch how they treat the people they consider beneath them. This one's a bit controversial because, let's be honest, it reveals the harsh truth about human nature. It exposes the subtle ways in which power dynamics and social hierarchies can influence our behavior, often leading us to treat others in ways that contradict our espoused values. Whether it's a waiter at a restaurant, a cashier at a grocery store, or even a colleague at work who's lower on the corporate ladder, how someone interacts with those who have less power says volumes about who they are. It reveals their level of empathy, their sense of fairness, and their ability to recognize the inherent worth of every individual, regardless of their social status. I learned this the hard way. I used to work with someone who, on the surface, seemed like the nicest person, charming, funny, and always respectful in meetings. They were a master of social graces, effortlessly navigating complex social situations and always knowing exactly what to say to make people feel comfortable and valued. But then one day, we went out to lunch, and I saw a different side of them. The moment we sat down, they were rude to the waiter, barking orders like they were royalty and the server was beneath them. They treated the waiter with a level of condescension and disrespect that was shocking and unsettling. It was as if they had completely shed their public persona and revealed their true, unfiltered self. It was shocking to see how quickly they shifted from friendly and warm to dismissive and arrogant. That was a wake-up call for me, and I realized this wasn't a one-time slip, it was a reflection of their real character. It was a glimpse into the inner workings of their mind, revealing a sense of entitlement and a lack of empathy for those they perceived as being of lower status. They were only kind when it benefited them, when there was something to gain from being polite and respectful. When there was no perceived benefit, their true colors emerged, revealing a person who lacked genuine compassion and respect for others. People show their true nature when they think no one important is watching. When they believe that their actions will have no consequences, they are more likely to let their guard down and reveal their true selves. If they're condescending to the waiter, they'll be condescending to anyone they believe can't fight back. If they're dismissive of a colleague because they're in a junior position, guess what? That arrogance and lack of respect will surface in other areas of their life too. It's a pattern of behavior that reveals a deeper character flaw. The person who's kind to you but rude to others, they're not kind, they're calculating. Their kindness is conditional, dependent on their perception of your social status and their expectation of receiving something in return. Think about it, when there's no social pressure to be polite, and someone knows they can get away with treating others poorly, that's when their real personality shines through. That's when you see their true level of empathy, their genuine respect for others, and their commitment to treating everyone with dignity, regardless of their position in society. Stoicism teaches us to observe human behavior objectively, and this is one of the clearest indicators of a person's integrity. It provides a valuable framework for understanding the complexities of human nature and the subtle ways in which our values can be compromised by social pressures and power dynamics. It's easy to be nice when there's something to gain, but true character is revealed when someone has nothing to lose. When there's no expectation of reward or recognition, their actions reveal their true motivations and their genuine commitment to treating others with respect and compassion. I've used this principle in friendships, work relationships, and even dating. It's become a kind of silent test for me, a way to assess the true character of those around me and determine whether they align with my own values. If someone treats the janitor with respect, if they say thank you to the bus driver, or if they show kindness to a stranger, that's someone worth knowing. These small acts of kindness reveal a genuine sense of empathy and a commitment to treating everyone with dignity, regardless of their social status. But if they're the type to be unnecessarily harsh or dismissive, that's a red flag that can't be ignored. It's a sign that they lack genuine compassion and that their kindness is conditional and self-serving. And here's where it gets even deeper: how we treat others is a reflection of how we see ourselves. People who respect everyone, regardless of status, are often secure in themselves. They don't need to put others down to feel important. They have a strong sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on external validation or social comparison. But those who are cruel to others, they're often projecting their own insecurities, trying to elevate themselves by stepping on those they deem weaker. They lack self-confidence and rely on belittling others to feel superior. It's a form of arrogance that Stoicism teaches us to recognize and avoid in ourselves. It's a reminder that true strength comes from within, from cultivating virtues like empathy, compassion, and respect, rather than seeking to dominate or control others. So, if you want to know who someone truly is, don't be fooled by how they treat people they need to impress. Instead, pay attention to how they treat those with nothing to offer. It's the surest way to see beyond the mask, into the heart of who they really are. It's a reminder that true character is not about outward appearances or social performance, but about the consistent application of virtues like empathy, compassion, and respect in all our interactions, regardless of the other person's social status or perceived worth. 3. The echoes of the past, unveiling present behavior. If you want to truly understand someone, to grasp the underlying reasons for their behavior and the hidden motivations that drive their actions, take a deep look at their past. People often say the past is behind us, that we should focus on the present and not dwell on what has already happened. But the truth is, it's not really gone. The past is not a distant memory, it's a living force that shapes everything about who they are today, whether they realize it or not. Their experiences, traumas, victories, and relationships are all influencing how they think, behave, and even treat you in the present moment. This can be controversial because it implies that people don't just move on, that they carry their history with them, and sometimes that history is the blueprint for their actions. It suggests that we are all products of our past, shaped by the events and relationships that have defined our lives. I have had a friend who always seemed to be on edge, no matter the situation. They were overly defensive, quick to anger, and extremely cautious in relationships. They approached every interaction with a sense of suspicion and distrust, as if they were constantly expecting to be betrayed or hurt. At first, I thought it was just part of their personality, a quirky characteristic that made them unique. But as I got to know them better, I learned about their past. They had been deeply betrayed by people they trusted, had experienced financial hardship, and had grown up in an environment where they constantly had to prove themselves. They had endured a series of painful experiences that had left them emotionally scarred and deeply affected their ability to trust others. The dots started connecting. Their defensiveness wasn't random, it was the direct result of feeling like they had to protect themselves from being hurt again. It was a defense mechanism, a way of shielding themselves from further emotional pain. Our past experiences leave marks, sometimes scars, and they can explain why someone acts the way they do. A person who grew up feeling neglected may crave constant attention as an adult. They may seek validation from others, constantly needing reassurance that they are loved and appreciated. Someone who's been burned by a business partner may now distrust anyone who tries to collaborate with them. They may be hesitant to form partnerships, fearing that they will be betrayed or taken advantage of again. The key here isn't to make excuses for people's behavior, to justify their actions or condone their negative traits. But it's to understand that they're not always acting out of the present moment, they're reacting to echoes from their past. They are responding to unresolved traumas, unmet needs, and deep-seated fears that are triggered by current situations. Stoicism teaches us to look at things as they are, without judgment, and understanding someone's past is part of seeing them clearly. It allows us to approach them with greater empathy and compassion, recognizing that their behavior is often a reflection of their past experiences. I've seen this play out in romantic relationships too. You ever date someone who seems perfectly fine at first, but then certain patterns start emerging? Maybe they're overly jealous or struggle with commitment. They may exhibit possessive behavior, constantly checking in on you and demanding your attention. Or they may be hesitant to make long-term commitments, always keeping you at arm's length. 9 times out of 10, if you dig deep enough, you'll find that their past relationships have left wounds they haven't fully healed from. They have been hurt, betrayed, or abandoned in previous relationships, and those experiences have shaped their current behavior. It's the fear of being hurt again that drives their behavior in the present. They are afraid of repeating the past, so they create patterns of behavior that are designed to protect them from further emotional pain. When you understand that, it doesn't mean you have to tolerate toxic behavior, to accept abuse or mistreatment. But it gives you insight into why they're acting the way they are. It allows you to approach the situation with greater understanding and compassion, while also setting boundaries to protect your own well-being. And here's the tough truth: people often live their lives stuck in cycles, repeating behaviors learned from past experiences. It's like they're trapped, reliving the same patterns over and over without even realizing it. They are unconsciously recreating situations from their past, hoping for a different outcome. That coworker who constantly seeks validation, they're likely replaying a childhood where they never felt good enough. They are seeking the approval and recognition that they missed out on as children, hoping to finally feel worthy and accepted. The friend who sabotages every relationship, they're likely responding to a deep fear of rejection that stems from past heartbreak. They are afraid of being abandoned again, so they push people away before they can get too close. Their reactions, their habits, their decisions, it's all a mirror reflecting the unresolved parts of their past. It's a constant reminder of the pain and trauma that they have endured. But here's where it gets even deeper: understanding someone's past not only helps you navigate your relationship with them, but it can also help them break free from these cycles. It can provide them with the awareness and insight they need to heal from their past and create a better future. If you can gently point out the patterns they're repeating, you might help them become more self-aware. You can help them recognize the ways in which their past is influencing their present behavior. In doing so, they might finally confront what they've been avoiding for years. They may be able to acknowledge the pain and trauma that they have been carrying and begin the process of healing. Stoicism emphasizes self-reflection and improvement, and sometimes understanding someone's past allows you to guide them toward bettering themselves. It provides you with the tools to help them break free from negative patterns and create a more fulfilling life. It's easy to judge people based on how they act right now, to condemn their negative traits and criticize their flaws. But the past is the key to unlocking the reasons behind those actions. When you start seeing people's behaviors as responses to their history, you can approach them with more empathy, while also protecting yourself from getting drawn into their unresolved issues. You can set boundaries, offer support, and encourage them to seek help, without enabling their negative patterns. In short, the past is always present. To truly understand someone, you have to see the full picture, not just the chapter they're currently living. You have to recognize the ways in which their past experiences are shaping their present behavior and approach them with empathy, compassion, and a willingness to help them heal. 4. Deciphering tone, the unspoken language of lies and hesitation. One of the biggest giveaways that someone is lying or hiding something, a subtle yet powerful indicator of deception or discomfort, is a sudden change in their tone of voice. Most people don't realize it, but our voices often betray what's going on beneath the surface, revealing our true thoughts and feelings even when we try to conceal them. The tone of voice, the subtle inflections and nuances that accompany our words, can be a powerful indicator of our true intentions and emotional state. When someone's speaking confidently, when they are being truthful and sincere, their tone is usually steady, their pace even, and their words flow naturally. There is a sense of ease and authenticity in their voice, a seamless connection between their thoughts, words, and emotions. But when there's a lie or hesitation, when someone is trying to deceive or conceal something, things shift, sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes dramatically. The tone of voice becomes strained, the pace becomes uneven, and the words come out haltingly, as if they are being carefully chosen and filtered. It's like their subconscious is trying to throw up red flags, hoping you'll notice. The body knows when something isn't right and often signals it even when the conscious mind is trying to keep up the lie. I once had a coworker who was always smooth-talking, always knew exactly what to say, and always delivered it with charm. He was a master of persuasion, effortlessly convincing others to agree with his ideas and support his initiatives. But one day, when we were discussing a project deadline, something changed. His voice, usually upbeat and confident, suddenly dropped, and his words came out slower, almost stuttering. He became hesitant and evasive, avoiding direct eye contact and shifting his weight nervously. I immediately sensed something was off, and sure enough, it turned out he hadn't made any progress on the project but was trying to cover it up. He was attempting to conceal his lack of progress and avoid taking responsibility for his failure. That shift in tone was the key. He wasn't telling the full truth, and it was written all over how he spoke. His voice betrayed his deception, revealing his discomfort and his lack of confidence. Here's why this happens: when people lie or feel uncomfortable with what they're saying, their body and mind go into conflict. The act of deception creates internal stress, triggering a physiological response that affects their voice. Their brain is trying to maintain the lie or hide their uncertainty, but their body, specifically their voice, can't help but reflect the stress. It might come out as a higher pitch, a crack in their voice, or even a pause that feels just a bit too long. It's like their tone is out of sync with their words, creating a dissonance that is noticeable to the attentive listener. Think about the last time you caught someone in a lie. What did their voice sound like? Did they suddenly get quieter, or maybe they started speaking faster? Maybe their voice took on a forced cheerfulness, like they were trying too hard to sound normal. These are all signs that something isn't right. These subtle changes in tone are like warning signals, indicating that something is amiss. The shift in tone is a subconscious way of signaling discomfort, whether it's because they're lying, hiding something, or just unsure of themselves. It's a way for the body to communicate what the mind is trying to conceal. It's not just about catching lies either. Sudden tone changes also signal hesitation or uncertainty. They can indicate that someone is not being fully truthful, even if they are not outright lying. I once had a friend who would get really enthusiastic about plans we made. She would express excitement and eagerness, painting a vivid picture of our future adventures. But the moment I suggested something she didn't really want to do, her tone would change instantly. She'd go from excited to monotone, like someone had flipped a switch. Her voice would become flat and lifeless, devoid of the enthusiasm she had previously displayed. That was always my clue that she wasn't fully on board, even if her words said otherwise. It was a way for her to express her reservations without directly confronting me or risking conflict. This phenomenon happens in relationships, business deals, and even casual conversations. You've probably experienced it too. When someone suddenly goes from upbeat and friendly to defensive or evasive, even if their words don't match the shift, it's in those moments you need to start paying attention. Not to what they're saying, but to how they're saying it. The tone of voice is often more revealing than the words themselves. A sudden drop in energy, a shift in pitch, or a hesitation that wasn't there before can be the subconscious cue that the person is lying or holding back something important. They are signaling that they are not being fully transparent, even if they are not explicitly stating a falsehood. And here's the deeper Stoic lesson: people often lie not just to deceive others but to deceive themselves. They may be trying to convince themselves of something that is not true or avoid facing an uncomfortable reality. When their tone changes, it's not always because they're trying to manipulate you, it's often because they're uncomfortable with the lie they're telling themselves. They are struggling with internal conflict, trying to reconcile their actions with their values. This discomfort seeps into their voice, giving them away without them even knowing it. It's a manifestation of their internal struggle, a sign that they are not being true to themselves. Stoicism teaches us to observe without judgment, and this is a prime example of how you can use that observational power. By paying attention to the subtle shifts in someone's tone, you can get a clearer picture of their internal struggle. You can gain insights into their true thoughts and feelings, even when they are trying to conceal them. It's also worth noting that we do this to ourselves. How often have you said something you didn't fully believe and noticed your own voice falter? Your tone becomes the mirror of your inner doubt, reflecting the uncertainty and lack of conviction that you are experiencing. This is why Stoicism emphasizes the importance of aligning your thoughts, words, and actions. When they're not in harmony, it shows, often in ways you can't control. The body has a way of betraying our inner state, revealing the truth even when we try to conceal it. So, next time you're in a conversation and you notice someone's tone shift unexpectedly, whether it's a sudden drop in energy, an awkward pause, or a pitch change, don't ignore it. Pay attention to what their voice is telling you. Ask yourself, what are they holding back? What are they uncomfortable with? It might not be a full-on lie, but there's a good chance they're not telling you the whole truth. Their voice is their tell, and if you listen closely, you'll hear it every time. 5. Unguarded moments, the theater of true self. If you really want to know who someone is at their core, to understand their true values and the essence of their character, watch them when they think no one's paying attention. These are the moments when people drop the mask they wear for society, the social persona they've crafted to fit in or get ahead, and reveal their true nature. They are no longer performing for an audience, no longer striving to impress or manipulate. They are simply being themselves, unfiltered and unadorned. It's a controversial truth because most of us would like to think that who we are in public is the same as who we are in private. We want to believe that we are consistent in our values and behavior, regardless of the context or the audience. But the reality is, people often behave very differently when they think no one's looking. They may adopt a more relaxed and authentic demeanor, revealing aspects of their personality that they typically keep hidden. Or they may let their guard down and display behaviors that are less admirable, revealing their true flaws and insecurities. I remember working with a manager who was always the picture of professionalism when the boss was around. She would make polite small talk, maintain a calm demeanor, and never raise her voice. She presented herself as a model employee, dedicated, efficient, and always respectful. But the moment our higher-ups left the office, it was like she transformed into a completely different person. She'd snap at the team, make condescending remarks, and treat people with zero respect. She would become demanding, critical, and often verbally abusive, creating a toxic work environment for those around her. It was jarring, and it taught me a valuable lesson. The person someone is when they don't think they're being watched is often their most authentic self. It's in those unguarded moments that you see their true values and their genuine character. When people are in the spotlight, they're hyper-aware of how they're being perceived. They act in ways that they believe will earn approval or avoid conflict. They are constantly monitoring their behavior, adjusting their actions to fit the expectations of others. But the second they feel they're out of view, the filters drop. They no longer feel the need to perform, and their true selves emerge. You see it in small moments, how they react and they think no one will notice, how they treat people who can't offer them anything, or how they behave when they think they won't be held accountable. These seemingly insignificant interactions reveal their underlying values and their true level of empathy and respect for others. It's in these seemingly insignificant interactions that their true self is revealed. This applies to every aspect of life, from relationships to business to everyday encounters. The principle of observing people when they think no one is watching can provide valuable insights into their true character in a variety of situations. Take romantic relationships, for example. At the beginning of a relationship, both parties are usually on their best behavior, trying to impress one another. They are striving to create a positive impression, showcasing their best qualities and concealing their flaws. But if you really want to know who someone is, observe them during the quiet moments, the ones where they're not actively trying to impress you. How do they treat the waitress when you're out to dinner? What are they like when they're stressed, or when they think you're not paying attention? Do they still show kindness, patience, and respect, or do they let their guard down and reveal something less flattering? Do they maintain their composure and treat others with respect, even when they are feeling frustrated or overwhelmed? Or do they become short-tempered and dismissive, revealing a lack of empathy and consideration for others? I've seen this play out in social settings too. You might have a friend who's the life of the party when everyone's watching, always cracking jokes and being the center of attention. They thrive on social interaction and constantly seek the approval of others. But when they think no one's noticing, they might act aloof, selfish, or dismissive. They may withdraw from the group, becoming uninterested and disengaged. Their true character comes through not in the big public moments but in the small, hidden ones. It's in these unguarded moments that you see their true motivations and their genuine values. Here's where the Stoic perspective comes in. As a Stoic, you're trained to observe life objectively and without judgment. You are encouraged to approach every situation with a calm and rational mind, seeking to understand the underlying causes and motivations. People will often reveal their true nature when they think they're off stage, and it's in these moments you can truly understand them. Stoicism teaches us that virtue is not about how we act when people are watching, but how we behave when no one is. It's about living in accordance with our values, regardless of external influences or social pressures. The person who remains kind, patient, and respectful, even when there's no one to applaud them, that's someone who lives in alignment with Stoic values. That's someone who is truly virtuous, living in accordance with reason and nature. But the reality is, many people aren't like that. They compartmentalize their public and private selves, acting in ways that serve their image in public while letting their less appealing traits come out in private. They are more concerned with appearances than with genuine virtue. I had a colleague who was incredibly supportive and warm whenever we were in a group meeting. He'd always have something positive to say and would go out of his way to show support. He presented himself as a team player, always willing to help and collaborate. But when we were alone, his demeanor completely shifted. He was short, dismissive, and uninterested in helping unless it directly benefited him. He would become critical and judgmental, undermining my ideas and dismissing my concerns. That's when I realized his public persona was a facade. It was a carefully constructed image designed to advance his career and gain the approval of others. The most honest moments aren't when someone's under the spotlight, they're when they think no one's watching. Whether they're acting with kindness or cruelty, it's these unguarded moments that show the truth. It's in these moments that you see their true character and their genuine values. And this is where you gain real insight into who they are. If someone can only be good when others are watching, it's not real goodness, it's performance. It's a calculated act designed to manipulate or impress others. And here's the deep Stoic message: true character is who you are in the shadows, not in the spotlight. It's about living in accordance with your values, regardless of who is watching. As Stoicism teaches, we must aim to live in alignment with our values at all times, regardless of who's watching. Whether the room is full or empty, a Stoic's actions are consistent because they come from within, not from the need for external validation. They are driven by a commitment to virtue, not by a desire for approval. When you observe others in their unguarded moments, you'll not only see their truth, but you'll also remind yourself of the importance of living authentically, even when no one else is around. You will reinforce your commitment to living in accordance with your values, regardless of external influences or social pressures. So, the next time you want to truly understand someone, don't focus on their grand gestures or public persona. Instead, pay attention to what they do when the spotlight is off. That's when you'll find their real character, and that's where the truth lives. 6. Emotional reactions, mapping their inner world. If you want to understand what truly matters to someone, to uncover their deepest values and the things that drive their behavior, look at how they react emotionally in various situations. Emotional reactions are like an unfiltered window into a person's soul. They expose their priorities, their values, and the things they hold dear. They reveal what is truly important to them, often in ways that words cannot express. This idea can be controversial because many of us like to think we're in control of our emotions, that we can hide what we really care about. We want to believe that we can suppress our feelings and present a calm and rational demeanor, regardless of the situation. But the truth is, when someone reacts strongly, whether it's anger, excitement, or even anxiety, it's a clear signal that their emotional response is tied to something that matters deeply to them. It is a manifestation of their underlying values and priorities. Let me give you a personal example. I once worked with a colleague who was generally calm and composed. Nothing seemed to faze him. He was known for his level-headedness and his ability to remain calm under pressure. But one day, during a routine meeting, someone suggested a small change to one of his projects, and he suddenly blew up. He reacted with an intensity that was completely out of proportion to the situation. I was taken aback by his outburst. It wasn't a big change and certainly not something you'd expect to trigger such a strong reaction. But here's the thing, his emotional response wasn't about the change itself, it was about the fact that this project was his baby. He had put countless hours into it, and to him, it was more than just work, it was personal. It was a reflection of his creativity and his hard work. That emotional outburst revealed how important that project was to him, even though he'd never explicitly said so before. It exposed his deep emotional connection to his work and his desire to create something meaningful. People don't always tell you what matters most to them with words, but their emotions, they can't hide those. Emotions are involuntary reactions that reveal our true feelings, even when we try to conceal them. The boss who reacts angrily when you question his decision, that's not just about protecting his authority, it's because his sense of self-worth is tied to always being right. It is a reflection of his ego and his need to be perceived as competent. The friend who gets overly defensive when you point out something small, that's probably because what you mentioned taps into a deep insecurity or a value they hold dear. You have unknowingly touched upon a sensitive area, triggering an emotional response that is disproportionate to the situation. The excitement someone shows when they get praise for a job well done, that's because recognition is one of their top priorities, even if they'd never admit it. They may downplay their desire for praise, but their emotional response reveals their underlying need for validation and approval. Here's the key, people's strongest emotional reactions, whether positive or negative, reveal their deepest priorities. They might act cool, detached, or indifferent in most situations, but when something they care about is threatened, challenged, or even acknowledged, their emotions flare up. It's like a switch is flipped, revealing their true feelings and exposing their underlying values. This isn't just limited to negative reactions like anger or frustration, though those are often the most obvious. It's also about the things that bring them joy, make them light up, or get them animated. The excitement someone shows when they're talking about their side hustle or hobby, that's because it matters to them more than you might realize. It is a passion that fuels their creativity and provides them with a sense of purpose. The enthusiasm they display is a clear indication of the importance of that activity in their life. In relationships, this principle is especially powerful. If you're dating someone and you notice they get disproportionately upset when plans fall through, that's a sign that spending time together is incredibly important to them. It reveals their desire for connection and their need to feel valued. If they light up whenever you talk about a future trip or activity, it means that creating shared experiences is a priority. They value the opportunity to create memories and strengthen your bond through shared adventures. Emotions are always tied to values, and paying attention to someone's emotional cues gives you a clear map of their priorities without them ever having to spell it out. It allows you to understand what is truly important to them, even if they are not consciously aware of it. A good example of this is when people get unexpectedly defensive. Let's say you casually mention that someone's been late a few times, and instead of a calm acknowledgement, they get flustered and defensive. That reaction isn't just about the tardiness, it's because punctuality or the appearance of being reliable is something they care deeply about. It is a reflection of their values and their desire to be perceived in a certain way. Their emotional outburst is a reflection of how important that aspect of their identity is to them. They don't want to be seen as unreliable, so they lash out to protect that self-image. Stoicism teaches us to observe human behavior with an objective eye, and emotions are one of the most telling aspects of behavior. When someone's emotions flare, it's because something they value is at stake. You can use this knowledge to better understand people in your life and also to manage your own interactions with them. By recognizing the emotional triggers of those around you, you can navigate difficult conversations with greater sensitivity and build stronger relationships based on mutual understanding and respect. If you know what triggers their emotions, you can approach sensitive topics with more care or use that knowledge to build stronger, more understanding relationships. You can tailor your communication style to their needs and create an environment of trust and empathy. But here's the deeper Stoic lesson: your emotions reveal your own priorities too. When you find yourself reacting strongly to something, take a moment to reflect on why. Is it because it genuinely matters to you, or are you letting your ego get in the way? Are you getting angry because someone is questioning your integrity, or are you just upset that your reputation is being challenged? Self-reflection is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Stoicism teaches us that by understanding our emotional reactions, we can gain greater control over them. We can learn to distinguish between emotions that are driven by our values and those that are driven by our ego. We can recognize when our emotions are tied to values that truly matter and when they're just a reflection of our pride or insecurities. The ability to read people isn't magic, it's about paying attention to the subtle signals they give off. Their emotions, body language, and reactions speak volumes about their true intentions, values, and priorities. By honing your observational skills and developing your ability to interpret these cues, you can gain a deeper understanding of the human psyche and navigate social interactions with greater awareness and effectiveness. Stoicism gives you the edge here by teaching you to observe without judgment. When you can see past the surface and pick up on the real, unspoken truths, you gain clarity in every social interaction. You can make more informed decisions, build stronger relationships, and avoid being manipulated by others. But this skill isn't just about gaining an advantage, it's about understanding. It's about developing empathy and compassion for others and recognizing the complexities of human nature. The more you observe others, the more you learn about yourself, what triggers your emotions, what you value, and how you can live in alignment with your principles. By reading people honestly and wisely, you not only navigate life better but also become a more thoughtful and self-aware person. You gain a deeper understanding of your own motivations and values, allowing you to live a more authentic and fulfilling life. That's the real power, to use this insight not for manipulation but for wisdom and personal growth. The Stoic art of reading people, a path to wisdom and connection. In conclusion, the ability to read people is not about possessing some mystical power or engaging in manipulative tactics. It's about cultivating a set of skills and adopting a philosophical framework that allows you to perceive the world and the people around you with greater clarity and understanding. It's about honing your observational skills, developing your empathy, and aligning your actions with your values. The skills we've discussed, employing the "tell me more" technique, observing how people treat subordinates, analyzing their past experiences, deciphering their tone of voice, paying attention to their unguarded moments, and interpreting their emotional reactions, are all valuable tools for understanding the complexities of human nature. By mastering these skills, you can navigate social interactions with greater confidence and build more meaningful relationships. Stoicism provides the ethical foundation for using these skills wisely. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions or isolating yourself from others, it's about developing inner strength and wisdom so that you can engage with the world in a more thoughtful and virtuous way. As a Stoic, you strive to observe without judgment, to understand the motivations and values of others, and to respond with compassion and reason. You recognize that everyone is on their own journey, grappling with their own challenges and striving to live a meaningful life. By applying the principles of Stoicism, you can use your ability to read people not for manipulation or personal gain but for the purpose of fostering understanding, building connections, and contributing to the well-being of others. Remember, true wisdom lies not in exploiting others but in understanding them. It is in recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all and striving to create a more compassionate and just world. By developing your ability to read people and aligning your actions with Stoic values, you can not only navigate life more effectively but also become a more virtuous and compassionate human being. The journey of self-discovery and personal growth is a lifelong endeavor, and the art of reading people is a valuable tool that can guide you along the way. By embracing this art with wisdom and integrity, you can unlock the secrets of human connection and create a more meaningful and fulfilling life for yourself and those around you.